If you're feeling locked up in your upper body in your golf swing, today we're gonna help fix that for you. We're gonna go through an upper body mobility flow. Now, there's one thing to feel locked up, but there's another to test and see that you actually lack range of motion in either the shoulder girdle or the T-spine. So keep in mind at THP, we're always going to test first using TPI or FMS methods to test and see, do you have the necessary range of motion in the shoulder joint, in the T-spine, or in the whole shoulder girdle? So remember, those three tests that are big are our FMS shoulder mobility test, right? We've got that one. We've got lat length going up over the head. We've got our 90-90, and then we've got our T-spine rotation. So we have a full video series on what those tests are and how to do them. Today, we're gonna go through after you've been tested and you find, okay, I do lack T-spine mobility or I do lack shoulder mobility. What do I do now? So we're gonna go through some training concepts and kind of actually take KC here through a flow. So without further ado, let's just get right to it. KC, you can come on in here. So we've got a few tools that you're gonna need. So the first couple, we're gonna need a light kettlebell today. We're gonna need an FMT band, and then we're gonna need a half foam roller. Okay, so these things are pretty easy. They're at most any gym. You can do it without the equipment, but it makes it a whole heck of a lot better if you have the equipment. So the way we work, especially if we're just gonna focus on mobility, is we're gonna work from the ground up. We don't wanna send Casey up and down and up and down and up and down. So we're gonna start basically on her back or on her front, and then we're gonna work up to transitional patterns and then standing. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing Casey's gonna do is no equipment, and she's gonna do child's pose with a QL stretch. So she's gonna go ahead and get into child's pose here. So she's gonna go ahead and extend all the way out. Now this is a really easy one to start with because when we look, we can see that we're getting, if you think about our lat length test where we go up, we're getting all this length through the lat here. And she's able to also get a good stretch in the hips and other areas that maybe we're not as concerned with, but we're double hip. So from here, what she's trying to do is push her chest down to the ground and reach these arms away from her body. She should feel a really nice stretch through that lat. And if you think about it, if you have trouble getting your arm up overhead, this is a really easy way to get some of that. Now, what we can also do is add a second piece to this with stretching our QL. So she's gonna go ahead and reach her right hand to her left wrist, and then she's gonna go ahead and kick out that way. So as she flows that way, she can feel a much better stretch through this area. So where she may have some tightness or lack some range of motion, she can focus in on that. And the whole time she's just focusing on breathing. So right now, if she were to do it this way, she would come out after about 30 seconds, and then she would reset, and she'd bring her left arm over to her right wrist. So this is a really easy one to start with. And again, we're starting on the ground. So we're making sure that, we're not going up and down, and we're just kind of doing a really basic one. You're gonna focus on breathing here, just going, in and out, mainly through the nose if you can. That'll help settle you in. And then once we get through those, about 30 seconds on each side, you can push it to a minute. We'll go to our next one. So next one is gonna be a side line. So she's staying on the ground, T-spine rotation with reach. So she's gonna go side line, okay? She's gonna go ahead and bring her knees up towards her chest, and we're gonna use this foam roller to put right in between the knees. What that does, she can squeeze there. It's gonna sort of shut off the hips a little bit. And what she's gonna do, put her right hand on top of her left, and I actually like to have her reach a little bit farther here, so that closes down that joint. Now I want her to relax her head as she pulls across her arm, so she's gonna pull the other way, towards the right, there we go, and now she's breathing out. She's gonna end up reaching for the opposite windows or the opposite wall, and she's gonna come on back, staying really tight to the body. We don't wanna see a big rainbow effect here. We wanna see her slide across her body. So she's gonna go ahead and do about 5 here. We'll kind of explain what's going on and what we're looking for. So big thing here is these knees need to kind of stay on the ground. If they're moving, that means she's now using her hips to gain more range of motion. So we wanna keep the knees on the ground. From here, as she continues, we want to make sure that this reaches so that she closes down the shoulder joint, and then as she slides, she stays nice and tight to the body. What that does is it keeps that shoulder blade down as she's whipping across. So instead of going up and getting her shoulder up into her ear, she's able to keep it down and pull down here, which allows for a better movement. So here we're working on a little bit of shoulder mobility, but mainly T-spine. Okay, so she's gonna do one more here. And what you'll do is you'll go both sides for about 5 to 10. Again, this is your mobility flow. You can take as much or as little as you need, but try to have at least 5 here. Once she's done there, we're gonna go ahead and flip to the half kneeling position. So go ahead and pop up for me, DC. And we're gonna do a half kneeling side bend with a reach. So she's gonna line up just like me right now, making sure her hips are underneath her. So we're looking for a straight line, knee, hip, shoulder all the way up. And then from here, her right arm goes up to the sky, okay? And then she's gonna go ahead and side bend to her left. Okay, now you can do this either way. We like to do it to the opposite side of the knee that's down, because now we're creating even longer action through these muscles. So she's gonna hold this for 30 seconds, just breathing. The other way to do that is, go ahead and come back, Casey, is to reach and push again. Hold it for, go ahead and reach, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come back. And she can do 6 pulses there. So where she reaches, really gets going there, and then as she comes back, she can reset and try to grab another little centimeter or inch. She's gonna go ahead and do 2 more there. And on these, we wanna make sure that we're doing at least 5 again, and you're staying nice and vertical through the knee, all the way through the hip. So now we're getting that lat to lengthen out, that QL to lengthen out, and we're getting a full side bend stretch. So now that she's already gone through some mobilizing techniques on the ground, we're gonna switch to quadruped, and she's gonna do a quadruped single arm FMT band reach. So it's a lot of words for something that looks pretty easy. So what she'll do, she'll hook this on her foot, she'll come out into quadruped, and then from here she'll set, and she's gonna go ahead and reach. Okay, so we're gonna end up doing about 10 on each side. You can start on the right side. Now, when you set up for this, you wanna make sure you're in a normal quadruped position. What do I mean by that? That means knees pretty much directly under our hips, feet are nice and engaged in the back, and then our hands are right underneath our shoulders. And then the FMT band, what's nice about it is, and you can go ahead and start, Casey. What's nice about the FMT band is you can adjust the intensity. So if she wants a little bit more resistance, she just grips farther down. If she wants a little less resistance, she grips farther towards the end. So here we're doing more of an exercise here, but what we did is the first 3 really lengthened everything up. Now we need to make sure we're taking advantage of that length and actually starting to stabilize. So what we're working on here is that left side, we're keeping that shoulder blade locked in and making her reach and really get her full range in an active position where there's some actual resistance on her. So it's one thing to be able to just reach up above your head. It's another to be loaded up there. So mobility, remember, is not just flexibility. It's not just the ability to get pushed into that position. It's the ability to get there and hold it and control it and weight it up. So with the golf swing and things like that, we want to make sure we're not just thinking mobilizing all the time without adding that stability component to it. So she's going to do about 2 more there. And remember, she would do both sides here, and you can hook the band on either foot, doesn't really matter. Now after that, she's gonna go into a half kneeling halo. So you can go ahead and relax there, Casey. So with the halo, we're gonna go ahead and grip by our horns here. We're gonna go into half kneeling, and all we're trying to do here is really pattern our shoulders to go into exactly what the FMS is looking for, that external rotation and adduction, internal rotation, adduction. We're just trying to make those shoulders kind of move through their whole range. So she'll go here, she's gonna go around her body, she's gonna pull this down and come around. Okay, so I'm gonna have her do where she goes all the way around clockwise and then all the way back counterclockwise, and she'll do about 3 there. So again, it's not always just about mobilizing. You have to add some motor control pieces to your flow, and then you also have to add just some more weighted stuff, because that's gonna help push the shoulders into different positions that they might not get if there wasn't that weight there. So she'll do a couple with the left knee up, going both directions, and then she'll switch it and she'll go to the other side. These are really nice because you can manipulate the weight a ton. You don't have to, you can stay light or you can go a little bit heavier. It's all about controlling it all the way down. So she's got a ponytail going today, which is nice because one of the easiest cues for this is to pull it down right there below your ponytail. There we go, make the shoulders work, and that just sits everything in the center of the joint, gets your shoulders working the way they're designed to. All right, after that, we're gonna go ahead and stand up. So we've gone on the ground, now we're in a transitional pattern. We're gonna go to more of a standing transitional pattern, so split stance. So what she's gonna do, she's gonna line this up on the wall. We're gonna get into split stance. So she's gonna add a little pressure this way. What that does is set this hip, and then she's gonna sit open, and we're gonna go with the rainbow pattern. So there's 2 patterns you can do. One is a bow and arrow pattern where you just pull right here. It's very similar to what we were doing on the ground. So now we're gonna do rainbow pattern, which is pulling up, make a rainbow, and come around. So I'm gonna have Casey do a couple of those while we explain the finer details here. So first thing is setting that right where she's got it right on her knee, and she's pushing actively there. So if I hit this, I can't wedge it. And then from here, her hands, I want her to reach towards me, arms apart a little bit, and then her biggest thing is not touching my wall. So from here, she's gonna go up. And now what we want to see is this shoulder blade patterns down just like with our reaches, and she comes back. So this arm needs to reach towards that wall as this arm reaches away, and then her face and head are going to turn with this arm in the back. So she's going to do about 5 there. And what we're looking for is a nice smooth movement, no leaning to the right or left. We don't want to see her cheat there. And what's great about this is Casey already has pretty good shoulder mobility, so she's not going to touch my wall at all. I can use a smaller foam roller and get her closer to the wall to challenge her. So someone who still has good mobility but wants to practice the flow can do that. So she's going to do about 5 to 10 on each side. Again, if you feel like these really help you, then you can do more volume. Or you can come back and hit a second set. But for most of these, you should be able to just hit 1 set. So once she resets to the other side, she's staying nice and stacked, patterning her breath here. And what she's trying to think of is her hands are really just opposite magnets. They want to be as far away from each other as possible. So they keep pushing away, and she's working very nicely there. So she'll do a couple more there, but then we'll get into our next one as we're standing into our TRX Side Bend stretch. You can go ahead and leave that right there. Now, one of the things I failed to mention at the beginning is a TRX strap would be also helpful for this, but there's other ways to do it. You don't actually need the strap. I'm going to show you as we turn around right here what this looks like. So we're going to do a TRX side bend. So earlier we did our half kneeling reaches. This is going to be a play on that. Now my arm's going to be taken away and across the body. And I've got 2 different things I can do here. I can push my hip to get more glute med, glute min, that type of stretch going or mobilization going, or I can push through my rib up here and get more of QL and my shoulder girdle. So for today's mobility flow, we're focusing on the shoulder. We're going to push more of the shoulder up. And so now I'm getting that whole side, and I'm just using the weight of my body to lock in here, and I'm just trying to really lengthen everything. This is one you want to be sitting to, go ahead Casey, for about 30 to 60 seconds, focus on your breathing. And again, this is one you can play with. So she's going to go ahead and just lean away, trust the TRX, and as you can see, she's going and she's just reaching that rib all the way away. So from here, it's coming this way towards me. She's just breathing and letting everything kind of open up. We like to work in millimeters here. So, you know, it might not seem like much, but she could be a couple millimeters away from exactly where she wants to be. So as she's sitting into this stretch and breathing out, she's trying to force a few more millimeters there, and then she'll end up doing both sides. So now what we're really looking at is when we were half kneeling, we were just doing the upper body. Now this is a full chain connection from her right hand all the way down to really right knee, right foot. That entire chain is going to get lengthened. So she'll come out of that. She'll do both sides there. And then what we have to do now is we're standing, we have to weight it up. So we're going to go ahead and take our kettlebell. And with this, you can go a lot heavier than we have here. It's just gonna be dependent on your shoulder health. But like I said before, we wanna make sure if we mobilize, we're gonna add a piece that's gonna also stabilize, because a bunch of new mobility is great, but if you don't have the stability there, it's not really worth anything to me. An idea in your golf swing would be if I can only get to here in my backswing, but then I open you up and now I can get you to here like John Daly, that's not good if you can't control it. Right? John Daly has the ability to swing that one back, right? But you might not if we open you up and we don't lock you down. So first thing we're gonna do is go into a rack position hold. So she's gonna be about right here. What we're looking is just to center this in the joint, okay, and lock down and keep our shoulders nice and square. So Casey, you can go ahead and take this. I'm gonna have you start back there. Now what she's looking to do is from here, she's looking to lock that elbow into the body, keep her shoulders nice and square, and she'll just walk. So we're gonna give her an offset load, meaning nothing in her left hand, and her right hand has some load. So she's getting pulled one direction. She has to fight to stay stable. Go ahead and turn it around. And as you can see, this shoulder blade is gonna stay locked into that joint. That's what centers the joint for the humerus. So with that positioning, we're saying, hey, in this nice, comfortable position, you are stable and good. Now she's gonna go ahead and pop it up to a waiter walk, okay, because we lengthened everything up and we're keeping it light here, and she's gonna go ahead and walk that up. So as she walks forward here, we're still looking for the same type of position of that scapula in the back, which we'll get a good view of when she turns around here, but we're looking for elbow to be locked out. This is punched into the sky, and that scap is right where it was, right? So we mobilized it, to ensure that it goes through all the ranges of motion it needs to. And now we're saying, hey, you have to lock that position in while we are doing some work. So adding these pieces to your pre-golf routine, or potentially for a warm-up, will definitely help you if you think you struggle in that upper body mobility. Now remember, we always need to screen first to see if we're doing anything that's actually gonna matter or make an impact. So make sure you're getting screened first to see what exactly to focus on. This upper body mobility flow focuses on a well-rounded plan for someone who really lacks mobility in the T-spine and the shoulder. So try it out. Should take about 10 to 15 minutes before your next round, and make sure that when you're trying it out, you go through each one, focus on your breathing, and let it take